Welcome to the podcast, Niko. Can you please introduce yourself?
So my name is Niko Suvorov. I'm with Versatile. Excited to be here.
Can you tell me the problem that Versatile is trying to solve?
We are the actuals company. So what we're trying to solve is we're trying to close the gap between the plan for mostly structural scope and the activities that are happening on site. Mm-hmm. And we're tracking production through a material movement. And we generate data, we collect data, we generate reports on that data, and we allow project teams to better understand where they are in terms of putting work in place.
So why is material flow and movement important?
So from my perspective, most of the understanding of construction work is you're basically, there is an owner who has a budget and they want to build a building, right? Let's say a hospital. And then from there, it starts with, moving forward. There's material that needs to be built. There's labor that needs to be built. Mm-hmm. And in construction, you're basically converting material and labor into an asset for the owner. So material movement in our world is extremely important. Supply chain issues the last 5 years have been really important for the industry, both in terms of rising costs of materials, but also in terms of supply and chain issues in terms of availability and so on and so forth. And material can make progress go well or may stall progress on the project.
So as a startup, you're always trying to create new value. So what kind of new value are you creating and who are you creating the value for?
Yeah, so we didn't start out with focusing so much on subcontractors. The company has been around since 2017. You've probably seen devices on cranes across North America since 2019. But most of the time, earlier on, we were focusing on general contractors. What we're finding in the last 2 years is we are more relevant to structural subs, precast, steel, basically anything that needs to get built in weather tight. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that when it comes to these materials, and most of our subcontractors are working with highly specified manufactured materials that have a unique design ID, they have a unique piece mark. Again, logistics around it is difficult and so on and so forth. And we are creating value and closing the gap between the design, the fabrication, the installation, and that entire value creation chain. The problem there really is everything works out in design. Just like Excel, Revit, or Tekla can take anything. The beam could be in the air, in the Tekla environment, in the digital environment without, laws of gravity. Same thing with fabrication. They're fabricated in a fab shop. All of the problems arise when material gets on site and doesn't come together, right? So you cannot install piece of steel or you cannot install precast panel. So that's where the problems are. And we're helping create value in understanding where there are these mistakes. If there are mistakes, how do you solve them? How do you progress with the project? And how do you document everything that's not going well, but also document what goes well? Mm. And that would be through reporting in 2D format, like your dashboards and so on and so forth, and 3D format, like model updates and so on.
Okay. So can you share with us?
Does that answer your question?
It kind of does. I mean, we still have more questions. We have a lot more questions. Right. But share with us your background and what led you to working on this particular problem.
So I'm not the founder. There was a group of founders, and Mirav is probably most known out of them, Mirav Oren, and she and her husband are still involved with the business. She is the executive chairwoman of the board. They had a vision of having data be the foundation of construction when it comes to continuous improvement. We're still on that journey. We're still on that vision. One thing that Mirav was very keen on is when you collect the data for construction, collect data for teams to be better on a project, to be better on the next project, data collection is going to be the main challenge. And we see it, by the way. Like if you look at, or if you talk to a lot of photogrammetry, reality capture solutions, they always have a challenge of, okay, well, the users need to walk around and take photos and so on and so forth. So she wanted to have a product that collects data effortlessly, non-intrusively, so the field team doesn't actually need to do anything to get this data collected. So that was one of the things that the original founding team was keen on. And then moving forward, the vision was always, if you have the data, you can turn construction more into manufacturing process, where you can have your normal, cycles of, reviews, what can be improved, and so on and so forth, and be this data foundation for teams to get better, again, on a single project, on portfolio of projects, or as a company. Ultimately, rolling up to industry being better. That's kind of the big goal.
So what made you interested in Contact?
Personally, I spent, first of all, I grew up around job sites. I've never ran a project. I'm not going to pretend like me building a pergola with my wife does not count for construction experience, right? But I grew up in a construction family. My father was a surveyor. So in the summer when school was out, I would spend a lot of time on projects in the trailers, where I learned to play domino, smoke, swear, do a couple of other things that I should know.
You smoke as a child?
We don't need to go there.
Okay.
This is not the type of podcast. Yeah. That's not what interested me in Contact, by the way. Okay. But anyways, so I grew up in construction family. I love construction to a point where my son is also now in construction. He is a BDC engineer at one of the general contractors in Southern California.
Okay.
So construction was always kind of been my passion. Most of my professional career, I spent with company Hilti, both in Europe and in North America. And my last Hilti gig was really, really fun. I was responsible for Pacific Northwest, and that was at the time where Hilti was ready to roll out JBot, a lot of new smart tools, and so on and so forth. And part of my role was to align expectations with customers with expectations of business units. And it was really, we had a very interesting approach of inviting our customers to headquarters for innovation tours and spending entire weeks with executive teams thinking about what construction may look like today, 10 years from now, and so on and so forth. And having these executives from construction companies, given their vision of what construction is, there was a very strong, I wouldn't say hope, but there was a really strong desire for construction to have more technology, both upstream and design and fabrication, pre-construction, but also on site, right? And that's what got me excited. I moved in about 10 years ago into construction tech. Been on this journey ever since. Love it. And
what do you do at Versatile?
I'm in charge of anything that touches the customers. So we have a go-to-market team that's marketing, customer success, sales, and we work most of our businesses in US and Canada. We have a sizable business in France as well. So, and I'm in charge of making sure that all of it goes well.
So what is Versatile doing that has not been solved yet?
I think the biggest thing that we do well is collecting data and building data sets for our customers. We have an IoT device that sits under the hook of the crane that collects data in a very structured way. And that allows our customers to really get the insights into the way that they operate. And I think this is the way that we collect data, the way that we share the data with our customer is what really makes us unique.
So who's the typical user of Versatile and what do they use it for?
So we have two clusters. One, we have a big business with general contractors who have been with us from day one. Big names. If you open up ENR top list, the top 5 typically are customers. And we have subcontractors. So for general contractors, we see that most of the usage comes from pre-construction teams and project teams when they collaborate between the plan and the actual. And again, like our portion is the actuals, and we surface the information. Well, you wanted to work in this area, you had planned for this trade to perform this type of work for this long, and then we give you the actuals. Did that actually happen, yes or no? Okay. And the second group is subcontractors. And subcontractors basically track the work that they do. And the users there are typically project managers and executives. And for them, we are the tool that allows them to improve their cash flow and improve their margins. Because we track their production, it's easier for them. We have an auditable trail of their production so they can build easier, faster, better, more aggressive. But at the same time, if things go sideways, they have a really strong evidence for change orders or claims. And so they leverage both of those functionalities.
Okay. What building type or industries do your users use your product for?
Last 24 months, I think we've seen a really strong spike in data centers. Especially steel, structural steel. So data centers, chip manufacturing, and healthcare. I think those are the 3 big verticals that our customers are taking us to.
Mm-hmm. And who's the unlikely or unexpected user who surprised you as a user? Yeah, we have some architects on some of our projects. So when we talk about business with general contractors, actually we have a project, IPD project here in the Bay Area, and I think they may have most users on a project. And we saw executives from the owners, like C-suite executives from the owners in our platform, which was a surprise to me. We saw folks from the architects and the engineering firms, which I think would be a surprised user. But what they're using it for is really visualizing the progress of structural scope on that project. Mm-hmm. Why do you think there's fragmentation and disconnect in this industry?
I think there are many players. It's difficult to bring a project to life because there are so many players. Like, I don't need to explain to you. You understand lean construction, you understand the interaction between the owner, GC, and the trades. And I think the biggest issue is that there are so many players. Each player has their own incentives. And I think like what we're seeing, one of the problems we're solving, for example, for structural steel, there is a fabricator that typically has the scope for structural steel. If they're self-erecting, that's fine. But sometimes they sub out erection part. So if you're a steel erector, you're coming in a project after the design has been completed, after the steel has been fabricated, after all of this has been coordinated with other trades. You show up on the project and you realize that the designer did not build enough tolerances. Now what you bid to take 40 minutes is taking you 8 hours. This is actually a real example for one of the projects. Yeah, they bid a project like, okay, this steel member, we're budgeting 45 minutes installation. It's a heavy one. And it's taking them 8 hours. So how do you, as a steel erector, how do you reconcile all that? Because the designer has already completed their design, probably got paid. Fabricator has the steel on site, so they also already collected some funds. Now you're steel erector, and you may be working with 4 or 5 different fabricators. You are the person that is now faced with solving a problem that not necessarily you have caused, right? And now you have to go back
and you have to untangle this all the way to the owner, because now the entire project is at risk, because something is taking you 8 times longer, and this is the beginning of the project. Again, I need to tell you how that will trickle down moving forward. So I think this communication, alignment of incentives, both in terms of alignment of incentives of big picture, but also alignment of financial incentives, is where that fragmentation is coming from.
Okay. What kind of feedback or results have you gotten with your users?
The best feedback that we get is 91% of our users are in the platform daily, from the PMs and executives. That to me is the stickiness of the product. That's what I am excited about. When it comes to financial and ROI, I think when it comes to some of the structural scope, we're seeing that we're able to help our customers document micro delays and micro rework. So because we collect the data, we're able to build these averages. So as a company, we're saying, hey, like it takes you typically this long to install this steel member. And now on this project, you're lacking, like these 5 pieces are now taking you 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes longer. This is where tangible value comes in, right? So we are allowing you to document those micro delays. And what we're seeing is those micro delays in steel could be up to 2% of your steel installation. So if you're doing a data center, 30,000 steel members, 2% of those steel members are going to be either long installation or failed installation, right? If you're talking concrete, like cast in place concrete, your long installation or failed installations for either rebar cages or for formwork will add up to be around 2 days per month of scope. So if your cast in place scope is 12 months, you're probably going to have 24 days of delays. So, and this is where we're able to surface this information earlier on, and with proper, communication and aligning financial incentives, our customers are able to shave off those losses that otherwise they would have had. Okay. And it adds up to be roughly, when we did math with few customers, around 2%.
Okay, great. That's a good outcome. What are your thoughts about AI in this industry? Because right now, a lot of people think about AI. Is it hype? Is it real value? Where do you see the direction of AI heading towards?
So one of the reasons that I'm excited to have joined Versatile when I joined Versatile is because I knew Merav earlier on, and she was talking AI before AI was as popular. Like, you talked AI in 2019, people think that you were slightly crazy, okay? So I think there is opportunity for education, because when you speak AI, most of I'm going to speak for myself. When I talk to industry players, okay, not the 5% who get it, but like the 80% people who are working like superintendents on projects and so on and so forth, most of the time when you say AI, people think of LLMs. And I think it's generally like true across population today, right? So LLMs. So I think there's education that AI is way bigger than LLM. There's an opportunity for education there. And if you think of AI in general in like proper AI terms, like in terms of machine learning and agentic AI and all of this true AI, I think the potential is huge for our industry. But I think and I think one of your podcast guests before from DataGrid, I think until there is tangible augmentation of the work that can be easily calculated with, that takes you half a full-time equivalent, and therefore your team is now 25% more productive. I think that's going to be challenging. And I think I'm not as hopeful for when it's going to happen, but I'm confident it will happen. It may take 5, 10, 15 years for us to get there. But 5, 10, 15 years is just, 5 projects away? So, yeah, a couple projects away, and I think AI will look different.
Okay. And how does Versatile integrate AI into the product?
We are AI. So what we do is we collect the data. So we have a device that sits under the hook of the crane. Think of us as smart rigging.
Mm-hmm.
In the device, we have sensors similar to what you have in your iPhone. And we're basically collecting information, and then we're shipping that information to the cloud. And in the cloud, we say, okay, first of all, what does it weigh? Oh, it weighs this many pounds. Okay, what does it look like? Oh, it looks like a steel column. Where does it go? It goes here. Okay, where does this geographic location in the real world correspond to the model? And we say, okay, this looks like a steel column that belongs in this location. It weighs like this steel column in the model. So therefore, we're just making an assumption with a high level probability this is this particular steel column, right? So our product is basically like leveraging a lot of AI technologies that are available today.
Okay.
And we're surfacing this data. We recently launched a way for our customers to look at their data and interact with the data using LLM. So that kind of opens up opportunities for our customers to go beyond the dashboards and the tools that we've created for them and give them access to the data that otherwise they wouldn't have had. And it's very interesting to see how customers are using that tool, because we see customers that are saying, okay, especially when it comes to data centers, we have executives or people in pre-construction or people even in estimating that are saying, okay, we're going to be doing the same data center basically as this one that we just completed. Give me everything that went wrong with this data center and, basically build a case how I can improve it moving forward. Going back to our founder's original vision, this is exactly what we envisioned. So we're excited to see that we've launched this tool recently.
And what do you think is broken about this industry today?
So going back, I'm thinking like a value stream, right? There is an owner who needs to have an asset. This asset needs to be designed, needs to be planned, needs to be fabricated, needs to be built and turned over, right? And I think along that value creation chain, you have a lot of miscommunication. I think you have a lot of misaligned incentives. I think we're kind of leaving. We're also as an industry. I like what Dean Reed has told me once. He's like, as an industry, we're builders. So we know how to take parts and physically put it together and make a whole of it, right? So we know how to take problems and solve them and resolve them. The thing is that I think we're solving project by project issues, thinking that every project is unique, every project is different from everything else, and we're not kind of scaling that. And I think there's a lot of, often even firefighting, but there's a lot of problem solving that are just staying with the project and not changing the way that the projects are being delivered. What do you think about it?
I mean, the fragmentation and brokenness, I think first it starts with misalignment of incentives and also the contracts.
Which would be financial incentives.
Yes, financial incentives. Because the contract models are set. If you do design bid bill, you're assuming you're actually going to purchase the item, but you have to co-create the value with the team. So you need a more collaborative contract. Mm-hmm. And then once they have a collaborative contract, you got to say, okay, how do we actually collaborate? That's not even an easy answer. And let's say that an owner is investing in a big room where they're co-locating people. Mm-hmm. Now you got to educate people on what needs to do in a co-location space. Because a lot of teams, they just work the same way as before. So it's a big shift in contracting models, in collaboration, and then teaching people actually how to collaborate. and why is the collaboration and the culture different than the previous project. And if you don't onboard people, train people, and do these things that are different, you're only going to get like a half-baked solution. So I would say that some people are looking at collaborative contracts, lean, VDC, contact. They're looking at various solutions like prefab, industrialized construction as the true solution. What I would say is that it's a combination of all these things, but then you still had to put them together and you got to align them and you make sure that you actually have all of it in the same project.
Do you think that the owner is kind of leading this, or?
It should be the owner, but not always, because not all the owners are aware that they play an important role. Many of the lean owners in the Bay Area, like SFO, UCSF, Sutter, they are the ones leading it because they've been doing it for 20 years, and they see that there's a big difference between a lean project and a non-lean project. Many of the general contractors for data centers, right? The owners are not there. The data center customers are not understanding it yet, so the general contractor or the team is leading it because they learned from other projects. I would say regardless of who leads it, eventually the owner needs to lead it.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, the owner could lead it, could not lead it. If the owner wants long-term benefits, they're going to have to lead it. And because they're the ones that can actually change the contract model.
So going back, like in my opinion, like the business model also has a lot to do with this, right? So the owner is basically directing the business model.
That's right.
Yep.
But also the owner needs to realize that they pay for all the waste of the project. Litigation waste, miscoordination. When they say it's not their problem, it's actually their problem. All issues on a project, they pay for it somehow.
Yes.
And they don't realize that. They think that, okay, I'm the owner and I'm paying for this project, but someone else is paying for training. Someone else is paying for this mistake. Someone else is paying for litigation. Like, no. You're paying for it through your long-term relationship with this team and this contractor, this architect. But also one thing that owners don't realize is that you as an owner do not finish your project and you're done. You're a serial builder. So you look at someone like SFO. SFO spends $11 billion over 10 years. So that's the bonding number right now to build these things. So $1.1 billion a year. So SFO realizes that, this year I'm spending $1.1 billion. Next year I'm spending $1.1 billion. The year after that I'm spending $1.1 billion. When an owner realizes that they need to continue building to sustain their business model, then they see it differently.
Yep.
Many owners just say, I'm finished this project. And I'm like, what are you going to do after that project? They're going to be like, maybe do another project. What about after that? Another project. I'm like, when are you going to stop building? They're like, never. Interesting. And say, how much do you spend a year on construction? This year, this much. This year, next year, this much. What about 10 years from now? Like, it's probably going to be the same number or higher. So when an owner realizes that they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year or billions of dollars every year, then they see their road differently. And it takes a while for the owner, like even a Google or Meta, to realize that we used to buy things. Now we're so big that we can't buy anymore. The market does not have the items that we need, so we have to build it ourselves.
So it looks like still the owners are still like thinking of risk management. And even IPD contracts, when we discussed off camera, right? You mentioned that, most of the issues, most of the concerns are going for interior trades, and kind of structure is like, let's just handle the structure. Do you envision the business model change when it comes to structural scopes?
Well, the original IPD projects in 2005 had structural erection as part of the IFA, which is the risk pool. For whatever reason, the structural people currently doing these projects choose not to be in the risk pool. I would say structure is important now that it should be in the risk pool. And also we're seeing like Dagenkolb, they merge with Ruby and also Lean Steel. So they're doing fabrication and engineering. So I'm seeing there's going to be vertical integration in terms of these fabricators, installers, and structural engineering firms, because there's no reason to disconnect those things. So I do see more integration, especially for data centers, because you look at data centers, basically a structure, a shell, and an MEP.
And a fill out. Yeah.
And so like there's fewer companies involved. And so it makes sense to have more integration, and it makes sense to eventually for that model to become progressive design build or IPD, depending on the owner's appetite.
What we're seeing in the market also, we see like when it comes to structural scope, and again, like we have a lot of our customers working on data centers and chip manufacturing. And what we're seeing from our customers is like, okay, we want to become kind of a shell subcontractor where we'll do the structural steel, we'll do the precast, or if mass timber, right? So like we'll do all of this. We'll basically give them the shell, and then the other parties come in and do the fit out. Are you seeing that? How far do you think we are as an industry from?
I think that's probably going to be like 1 or 2 generations of projects. Now, a generation of project is 5 years. Yeah. So we're looking at 5 to 10 years. 10 years, yes. I would say in 10 years, there will be people that would say, hey, owner, you get the site down, you get the slab in, we come in, we just do the exterior, and then the interiors, it's up to you to choose how you do the interior rack with MEPs. That would be, an evolution in business, especially for this type of warehouses or data centers, because then you're delivering exact type of scopes that they need. I would say business model is going to move very fast in this market because every day saved or any efficiencies gained is measurable. And these Metas and Googles of the world, they have data on everything. Yep. So they collect data on everything, and they're going to say, oh, they have data scientists that mines the data and said, oh, we found out that when you do it this way, you actually save like a month. They're like, okay, that's actually their insight. But it's insight on the product that you're doing. And they have this, Amazon's going to be building a bunch of data centers around the world to do AWS, right? So they're going to say, this project in North Carolina is cheaper than this one in Seattle. Why? So the data scientist is mining all the data, and they'll figure out the insights. I would say the insights will surface, and it's not going to take that long because the customers are collecting all the data, and they're deploying teams to mine the data. So good ideas will show up, and it will be evident.
So we have, for example, some of our customers are going leaning that way. Like, what do you think is the easiest way for somebody who's thinking, I want to approach the owner with this idea that I will be their single structural partner? Like, what would be their blueprint to success so they can get ahead of like HOV lane to get into this business model?
So I would say the first thing you do is the trades need to talk to the owners directly. They don't do that because historically, trade contractors go to a general contractor, and then the architect is in charge of the engineering. So right now we're seeing it's a Wild West in this thing because basically you're integrating engineering, structural engineering with fabrication, with installation, with supply chain, right? So you basically are integrating it for the product that you're giving. So it's a new product for the customer, a new offer for the customer. Therefore, you can't go to a general contractor for this. You have to go to the owner. So my suggestion is that as you're working on these projects with owners, and you may be building the traditional business model, you need to tell the owner, hey, we do have the option of doing this for one of your projects. And we could start experimental. We can start on a small project. We can start on something. And if it makes sense for you, let's try it. And because you're a data-driven company, like say you're Google, you're an Apple, you're one of these people that have data centers, you're a data-driven company, you try it once, and your data scientist will tell you if it works or not. And if it works, let's continue. But are you open to experimentation? I think that the key is trade partners talk to the owners first, then ask owners to experiment on a small scale.
But now you need to not only become the steel erector or precast erector, but you also need to become a data company.
Yeah, but you don't have to be a data company. The owners already have collected data.
But how are you equal to the owner? How do you play in that arena as you are just,
I mean, these projects are so massive, they're trying new things.
Okay.
So they're willing to try new things because they're like, if we just do the traditional contractor architect route, we're going to get traditional outcomes. So we're going to try, industrialized construction, prefab, because right now they're already prefabbing. So then why can't you just sell it as like a solution. So I would say the owners would be open to this. It's just that the trades in the beginning, you don't have to integrate all of it. You could just have like 3 companies that work together well, and then you come together as an offer for a customer. You don't have to integrate the business model. You can have 3 different companies saying, okay, for this project, we as a team will give you this. Would you like that? So I would say start with that first. You don't need to fully vertically integrate, but you can integrate the offer, and then you have to talk directly to the customer. But these owners, because these projects are so fast, the timeline is like months.
Oh yeah, clear.
In delivering so much material and assembling so much material, right? So they're willing to try things. And as long as they're trying and they have some data and you have some data and your idea is better, it'll prevail.
We see on our end that a typical data center is around 70 days of steel erection on site, from beginning till the end. So yeah, need to be fast, and you need to coordinate deliveries. So it's about 30 to 36,000 steel members that need to be delivered, sorted out, shaken out, erected, bolted, detailed.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Of time.
But also the 70 days roughly, right? If you can do it for 60, 65 days, they'll notice.
Oh yeah.
Any gain is going to be noticeable because speed to market is a key in this
for
aspect.
These owners. Absolutely. Yes.
Because they need
It's true for manufacturing. It's true for healthcare. It's true for data centers.
Yeah. In the lean world, we call these people producers. So Glenn Ballard had a paper where he talked about different types of owners. So there's some owners that are building for low cost because they're trying to rent out the asset, right? There's some owners trying to build custom one-of-a-kind art pieces because they're trying to create an attraction to their areas. But there's certain types of owners, which he calls the producers. Producer means that you build the facility to produce the revenue for your business. So a hospital, an airport, oil and gas, data centers, nuclear, these are producers. Chip manufacturing.
In general, yeah.
In general, biotech, because you're making a drug and you have a certain window to make that money. Every day to market, there's like a revenue associated per day.
Yep.
And I think more decisions need to be made based on that revenue, not based on it costs me this much money to buy steel, how do I get the steel cheaper? The question is, for these owners, many times the speed is way more important than the cost because the revenue is so much higher than the cost of the steel. So you get the steel and it takes you 90 days versus someone else giving you 70 days. Well, you're willing to pay the guy 70 days, like 5 times more money or more because that's the worst to you. So as a producer, you can actually measure ROI and worth by the day. And this is kind of why only the producers are the ones that care the most about lean because they get the most value. If you take a hospital or MOB, you open it for 1 month earlier, the owner gets a lot of money.
Yep.
If you finish the construction project of a hospital 1 month earlier as a general contractor, you save 1 month of general conditions, not that much money.
Yep.
So you got to understand who's getting the benefit and who's going to drive it. So the person who gets the most benefits will have to drive it.
Yep.
So that's why I tell the owners, you're going to have to drive eventually.
Yep. All right.
Okay. Some more questions for you. Let me see this.
I didn't have questions for you.
Besides Versatile, what are some companies that you think are doing innovative things in this space?
Okay. Placer AI put out a report. I learned it from Hamza. It's very interesting to see. Then they ranked it, the value that AI can bring immediately today. If I'm not mistaken, and boy, that would be really embarrassing if I am mistaken. But I think the estimating came in as number 1, right? So I think when it comes to value of AI today, what I'm hearing from the market, the business need is people need to argue their competitiveness and their value for money to the owners.
I think what I hear from the market is I have plenty of backlog, but my margins are thinner every year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think AI that helps folks win more work or win more profitable work is going to be very helpful. I'm also hearing from the market that you cannot hire a good estimator, you cannot hire a good person.
There's no more labor left.
Yeah, like it's just like so. The only option is for the same great estimators that people have today to do more work, and I think they're already working 70 hours a week. So like, they actually need tools. So I think anybody who is working on better estimating platforms that allow people to win more work or more profitable work, I think are really interesting. That's why I like what Dustin is doing.
Yeah, he was on the podcast.
He was on the podcast.
Edify was on the podcast.
Yes. I think they have a very, obviously he knows what he's talking about. Like he's done it before. He's going to do it again. I think he's going to disrupt the industry again. But I also think that this is what today is needed. This is where the industry is seeing value today. And I see this is I'm excited to see this happening. And then I think like from a, there's a knowledge worker. I think this is the use case for knowledge worker, but I think anything has to do with robotics to actually help do tasks in the field safer with remote. I think Haskell has an interesting solution that one of their team members kind of bubbled up and surfaced where they're doing testing remotely, and it actually is way safer. Not just safer on paper, like less injuries and less fatalities and near misses, right? So anything robotics that improves safety, I think, is very interesting. And I think you're gonna have a lot of point solutions in robotics, but also, or like that would be tasks like, I don't know, wire pulling, for example, in the electrical scope, or installing, drilling overhead and installing hangers for MEP, right? I think there is an interesting use case where they do edge of slab with robotics. Raised Robotics, I think, is the name of the company. But robotics in general that will augment the field worker, field AI, obviously. I think those are really interesting. Like AI for knowledge worker, robotics for the frontline worker.
So I've seen tower cranes and machine equipment that they can actually control via the internet. So that the operators go to a shopping mall, like a location, and they operate the machinery remotely through the internet. I think that's also changing the game because you're not going to be able to get these guys to commute far to the job site. I would say that also general AI, like DataGrid, they were on the podcast. Tiago, and then they got acquired by Procore. So generally, people that are on a podcast, they make more money very quickly too.
Share with your friends and come to the podcast. Listen more podcasts.
I'm just saying there's a correlation, not
empirical evidence there.
It's a correlation, not causation. Like we're not causing them to be acquired and having good exit. We just interview good companies. And they get the word out there, and then they do great things. So DataGrid, Edify, Motif was on here. I would say that many of the companies that we interview generally are doing very well and will do better. So empirical data.
Yeah, there you go.
What are some problems of this industry that you think no one is actually tackling right now that they should tackle?
I don't know that nobody's tackling. I think safety, we talk about safety a lot in this industry. And I think we talk a lot about safety when it comes to compliance. But I think if you look at other industries, how other industries made their workers safer in manufacturing environment, in some of the field environment, I think there is an opportunity for construction to really double down on safety over people. Because if you're on the project, if you go on a live project, you see how much risk
people are exposed to. And the worst thing is to see somebody get hurt or to see somebody lose their life. Because this is an industry where people generally have families, hardworking people. Like, you have to have dedication. You don't just go into construction and wing it. Like, construction workers start working at 6, right? Before that, they need to drive to the project, which is never near their home. It's always different address anyway. So, stretch and flex, have your breakfast. So they get up very early and they work until the work is done. So, like, those are very, very hardworking people. And I think as an industry, I wish we would spend more time and effort having safety products, not necessarily digital products, but I think physical safety products.
That's a good idea. What's your vision for a better future?
In general?
Yeah, of the world, the construction world.
Construction world. I think there is I want all of the good and none of the bad. That's the very easy answer. But I think as an industry, we want to be safer, we want to be more effective, we want to be more efficient. We want to do the work once. And I think we want to enable our teams to live in the world that they live outside of a project. I think construction will catch up to other industries when it comes to the experience that workers, again, knowledge workers or frontline workers, field workers, experience in other industries. Like, how many of our solutions, digital solutions today that estimators, designers are working in, that was not my phone, by the way. Somebody else's phone. Just want to go on the record here. I have it muted.
It's someone else's iPad.
There's only one iPad in the room. We're not going to point fingers of whose iPad was making that.
It could have been anybody's iPad.
Anybody's iPad, yes.
Yes.
Anyway, so I think if you look at some of the user experience of our knowledge workers when it comes to their tools, often they look like, MS-DOS user interfaces.
Or worse.
Okay. And so I think, like, somehow there is this notion that if you're in construction, you can work with, like, the worst of the worst. But, like, my son is 22. He is VDC engineer. He loves his Apple UI. He loves the Tesla, screen. Like, why do you think he's going to go and sit in front of a computer that has interface of Windows 95, right? So I think, like, knowledge worker experience is going to get better. And I think the frontline experience is going to get better. Tools are going to be more efficient, lighter, simpler, less vibration, less noise, less dust, all of this stuff. So I think the future is going to be where we catch up as an industry to what the norm is in other industries.
So what do you think this industry will look like in about 10 years from now?
I think we will unfortunately not have many more people, because I think I'm just not seeing that we will be able to grow as number of workers in the industry, given the constraints that we have. Like, most of the folks in the industry are retiring, and the pace at new people entering the industry is just not fast enough. So we will be forced to work with probably same, at best case, or less people. And I think we will be more efficient. So I think there will be just influx of tools that will make work more efficient.
So we're forced to be more efficient.
Yeah, we will have to be, yeah.
With no choice.
Yeah.
Okay, in 30 to 60 seconds.
Do I get to ask my questions too?
No. Well, you do your thing first, and then you can ask me questions.
Oh, okay.
So in 30 to 60 seconds, tell the audience one thing that you want to take away from this conversation.
So one thing is we talked about business models and data, and you emphasized that data is important. The owners are looking at data. They want to make better decisions. I think as a subcontractor or general contractor,
to be equal to the owner and be a good partner to the owner, you need to come in with data. Now, shameless plug. We collect best data on the market effortlessly. It just costs you money. It doesn't cost you any effort. No work needs to be done by anybody on your team. That's it. Just an invoice. And you have a perfect data set for your structural scope. Reach out to us.
Oh, great. Now you can ask me questions.
Okay, so I have questions.
Okay.
We talked about business model. That was question number one.
Sure.
Thank you very much. That was timely. Second question is about swords, outfits, and humor.
Okay.
Okay. First one is, what's up with swords?
So basically, if you look at people working in this industry, right?
Yeah.
You're on your computer, you're going to lean forward.
Yeah.
If you do this for 10, 20 years, your shoulder is going to be hunched. And you actually have the head forward. So your shoulders gets in and you're going to have carpal tunnel. Okay. The sword is actually an exercise device. You use it to stretch. It's a wooden sword. It's not a metal sword. A metal sword is to threaten people and to fight people. Okay, wooden sword, you use it to stretch. And this is for the workers who are working in the office, because you see that the guys who are physically out there installing things have to do their stretching and their flex and whatever in the morning, right? What about the guys working in the office, the VC manager? What about your son, your 22-year-old son? Like, what does he need to do? Does he know that he's going to like this and he's going to need like surgery eventually? Yeah. So what we do with the sword is that we just tell office workers, hey, in between your meetings, 5-10 minutes, use it. You're going to open up your shoulders, and you're going to use it to stretch the back, and you're going to be in better shape. So I'm encouraging people to use the swords to improve their health, not to threaten people. Some people use it to threaten people, but that's not the purpose.
Okay, good. Second question was about I listened to the podcast.
Okay.
But I listened as I was on the plane, so there was no visual. I was just listening and taking notes. But today I saw you walking in a suit.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, I probably should have worn a suit. And I realized that I didn't watch, but you have different suits for every podcast.
That's right.
What's the fascination with suits? And
I just wear different.
Where do you get them? How many do you have and where do you get them?
So I have, I would say 30.
30.
So we this is episode number 6 or 7. So we still have like
23 more suits.
23 more episodes of different outfits before you see the outfit again. So
are we going to see a tour of your house? Is it going to be one of those VH1 shows? What was that before the cribs? Your crib? We're going to see your collection of suits.
Well, the thing about the suits is that the reason why we elevate the dressing is we're elevating the quality of the podcast. You look at the podcasts in construction technology today, most of them are done online. They're going to be on Zoom. They're going to be on Riverside. So you're not even in the same room as the speakers, right? Yep. So what we're doing here is that we have 3 cameras and we have a semi-professional person.
We have a very professional person.
Semi-professional. And I haven't confirmed professionality. I'll let the audience judge the quality of this podcast for themselves. Again, I just say probably professional. And the goal here is that we're trying to elevate the quality of the conversation and the production quality. Because what I say is that if the audio quality, production quality, and everything is better, more people will tune in. And contact is an important enough message, because when we're talking about contact, how many people need to hear these messages? A lot of people. So we think that we should make the quality as high as possible, including the dress code. But in the future guests, please actually watch the episode so you can actually see, and then you can dress accordingly. But today...
Is there competition on a suit for
no one has ever worn a suit yet.
Okay.
So they all look like you.
Hopefully better. Okay, so going into, I think it's a perfect setup. Mm-hmm. I have a privilege of following you on social media and some other channels about lean construction. Mm-hmm. Your messages are at least not corporate, very on the edge. Your latest post has a big red sign saying you're stupid.
Okay.
So
I can explain this. Okay,
yeah. What's up with that?
So let's look at the history, right? So I started in the lean construction community in 2010. So 2010, 2015, I was working as a researcher looking at the major IPD and TVD projects in the Bay Area region. So we looked at 5 projects ranging from $150 million to $1.5 billion. So I was able to see kind of what happened on these projects, the good things and the bad things and mistakes. what I see now is that many of the mistakes that we saw 15, 20 years ago are still being repeated by people today. So my messaging is saying, okay, guys, I'm going to tell you some stories about things that sound very realistic, because they are realistic. They're real stories, but identities of the project, the team, the owner is not revealed. You can assume who it might be, right? But I'm telling you the story because when you listen to the story, you realize, wait, how can this be real? And are people really that stupid? The answer is these stories are mostly real. And yes, people can be that stupid, because we've seen failures of lean projects in 2015 that set the industry back by a decade. So whenever someone has a bad project or a bad outcome, people are going to say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I want something else. But that's because they made mistakes. So whenever I see a mistake, I proactively give people hints. So I don't say, oh, just, make this change. I was like, you might want to make this change because this is going to happen. So we had to kind of add in humor, because if you're just like directly saying that they're terrible, then people are going to be more insulted. But the idea here is that behind these stories there's a reason for you not to want to do those things. And it's better that I tell you now than I wait like 5 years and then it becomes bad, and then your major IPD project fails, and then people are going to say, oh, IPD doesn't work, or lean doesn't work, or this doesn't work, when it's really you didn't do validation, you didn't do onboarding, you didn't actually train the team on what a shared risk and reward was, you didn't build a culture. So these are examples of mistakes that people have made. And in the first generation of IPD and lean projects, which I would say the early ones are the Sutter Health projects in the Bay Area, 2005 to 2015. I consider it first generation. These teams save hundreds of millions of dollars doing target value delivery, last planner attack, but they also lost hundreds of millions of dollars not doing certain things like training, onboarding. They didn't align the team and culture. Assume that they hire the same companies, they'll get the same results without training them. So there is a real business impact to people not doing things well, but also many of them are doing these projects the first time ever. Like you're on a multi-billion-dollar project and you've never worked on a multi-billion-dollar project. So you don't even know what the mistakes are going to be until 5 years from now. So I try to give people slight hints in a way that they can kind of like take some time. And the stories are the stories and the humor is there. So they take time to they process it. And eventually there is enough people that actually look at it carefully and like, actually, that does sound stupid. And that does sound like us. I think he's talking about us. Maybe we shouldn't do that anymore, because if people realize it's us, we look terrible. So these are things that people are starting to realize, is that I'm not saying that it's actually you. Sometimes you tell a story and then 5 different project teams think it's them, and it can't be 5 different project teams. But what we're seeing is that the mistakes of these projects, the mistake of the industry in general, are repeated over and over again. The Groundhog Day. You wake up, you see the mistakes again. You see the mistakes today as they happened 10 years ago. You're like, oh my God, these guys don't know what's going to happen in a couple years, but I do, because I've seen exactly the patterns, and I got to give them some warning in a way that they may not like it, but if they even accept some of it, they'll be on a better path.
I think now with data being basis for a lot more decisions that 10 years ago, I think it's even going to be more evident.
I think the data, especially with data-driven companies like the data center owners and the fab owners, the benefits of lean and lean methods and collaborative contracts, big rooms, is going to be much more evident, because historically we didn't have enough data throughout the project and in real time to even know what happened. So these early lean projects like Castro Valley, UHS Temecula Valley, UCSF Mission Bay, people work on them. They have anecdotal evidence about, okay, we did this. but they don't actually have enough of the true picture and the true data to know with conviction that those things are the ones that lead to better outcomes. But now that we have so many of these medical office buildings, MOBs, they're pretty much the same building, built many times. Data centers, pretty much the same things, built many times. Or even the same data centers, but you build a lot of it. So you can see the productivity numbers and the installation rates and see if one way of installing the work or designing the work is better than the other way. You can see it, right? So when the product is somewhat similar and you do it a lot, you will be forced to learn.
Yep.
And when you do it a lot, I would say the best practices will always surface. So it's going to be much clearer reason to do these lean projects, especially when you look at data centers, warehousing, manufacturing facilities, and then nuclear projects, because you're building the same item, and also medical office buildings. The boom in medical office buildings in Northern California is going to drive more owners to do lean than ever before, because a hospital is one big building that you build for like 10 years, and MOB, you're finishing that in 24, 36 months. So those things happen really, really quickly, and you can see one project is better than another project. There's no guesswork. You say, okay, this project did this project did this one finished 2 months faster than this one. Why? Or this one finished cheaper. Why? Because we were in the same geographic region, so you should technically be the same if the things are all the same. So the data is going to make it more evident, but people are still going to make mistakes, and we try to warn them before it becomes catastrophic, because it can be catastrophic.
Yep. Well, hey, I had a blast. Thank you for
thank you,
inviting me.
Nico. Do you have any more questions, or are we good for today?
We're good for today.
So now
I'll come back in a suit, and I have a lot more questions.
But now you know what the swords are. There are swords in this office. I'll show you how to use them after this podcast episode.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.